I think it's super important for artists nowadays to be multifaceted. And I think it's important for artists to not just be about the music. I think it's important for artists to also be about their production, being up on their image. Some artists who aren't as blessed to have good management. If you don't have good management, you should also be looking into your management skills and just being well-rounded, because the way that the industry is today, it's not just enough to be about the music.
Oh, yeah, not what you need, and that is all. Nothing to say. Try to take my spot, yeah. You better breathe. Don't run, cause I will spray. I got my...
What up? This is your boy Matt B.
And it's your girl Angela.
And this is Beyond the Music. Now today we are going to be getting into, should a recording artist or anybody in that matter be a jack or Jill of all trades? So without further ado, let's dive into it.
Let's go. Let's get it. I think it's super important for artists nowadays to be multifaceted. And I think it's important for artists to not just be about the music. I think it's important for artists to also be about their production, being up on their image. Some artists who aren't as blessed to have good management. If you don't have good management, you should also be looking into your management skills and just being well-rounded, because the way that the industry is today, it's not just enough to be about the music and being a rapper or being a singer or being whatever your genre is. It's about being multifaceted. So
I think the quarantine in and of itself has taught us, like, you gotta be a jack of all trades. I mean,
Facts.
you can't just be out here just thinking that somebody's going to put it together for you or somebody's going to do it for you, because, I mean, let's just face it, if you don't have the skill set that you need in order to survive in quarantine or just in general, like, you're just going to get left behind.
Right.
And I think that is probably one of the biggest takeaways that we have here in quarantine is, like, bro, like, you got to understand lighting, you got to understand videography, you got to understand just sound, all
Right.
that in general, because if you don't, I mean, you will get left behind. People are showing their underbellies low key, because that's like I was telling you earlier, like, it's getting real ugly out here, because I've been seeing people where I was like, man, like, their production is crazy before quarantine, and now that shit not hitting no more.
the quality has downgraded,
man,
quite a bit.
It's like, bro, I could tell at this point that you were not doing that, and like probably didn't even have a hand in it.
Yeah. A lot of artists, especially the ones who aren't blessed to have big teams, are just left to their devices and have been almost left out in the cold to figure it out. And I know for myself, when quarantine hit and when COVID hit, I went into fail-safe mode of trying to figure out what the next step would be and reinventing ourselves and reinventing how we move. So reading a lot of books, reading a lot of blogs, trying to figure out what everyone else was doing and how I could make that unique for what it is that we're doing for Vitae Records and for the mattbeden brand. So for me, it was super important to then try to put on my marketing hat, my management hat, my Photoshop editor hat, my Final Cut hat, trying to figure out all of the different things that I could do to try to stay creative. And it wasn't good enough for me to just be in management. I had to even more so step out of my comfort zone to find the next step.
I don't even understand why artists wouldn't want to dabble more and to understand what's going on, like, in their kingdom. Like, this is your kingdom, bro.
Right.
I'm like Mufasa in this. Like,
right.
I'm sitting up on my rock, and this is a circle of life, and there's like I'm looking over my kingdom, like
Mufasa.
I'm like looking over my kingdom, like, all right, well, everything the light touches in this is my kingdom.
You got to give the people a little bit of the circle of life. Hit them with the vocals real quick. I'm putting them on the spot, y'all.
Circle of life. No, I don't want to stop there. But I'm Mufasa.
I did that for y'all.
I'm Mufasa in this. So, like, you feel me? Like, everything that the light touches is my kingdom. Like, you feel me?
Facts.
So it's like everything. So I want to know everything that's going on.
Right.
And I don't really understand why more artists don't operate in that way, because I mean, it hurts you if you don't care about what's going on with your production, and if you don't care about what's going on behind the scenes when it comes to your streaming numbers and anything else that encompasses being an artist. Then I mean, eventually that's going to bleed over into your money too,
Right.
because then your money's going to be looking a little funny, and you're going to be looking like, how did this happen? Is because
Don't mess with the dollars.
right, you didn't even care from the beginning
Right.
to look at anything that was going on as far as when you was building. So I mean, obviously, eventually when you got a guy that handles that, you're going to stop looking at your money too. And I think that's a really big problem when it comes to recording artists, is that, you know, we're very passionate when it comes to our music and when it comes to our craft, but then everything outside of that, we just kind of drop the ball. And by
Right.
we, I don't mean me.
He had
I'ma
to
just put
set
that out
the
there. You
record
feel me?
straight for y'all. Matt B
I'm
is
just
not
saying,
talking about himself. He's
I'm just-
talking about somebody else.
You feel me?
who is unnamed.
I'm just saying we, because I'm in the category of an artist, although I'm somewhat more of a connoisseur.
Period. So, let's dive into how an artist, for those who don't know, artists out there can be jack of all trades, because a lot of our listeners and a lot of the viewers may not know what that entails, because some people are just starting. We don't want to discriminate against the people who are just getting their feet wet, people who are just diving into the industry and figuring out what to do, especially in this crazy time of COVID. So, what does it look like being a jack of all trades?
You know, I can only base it off of my own personal experiences, and for me, it looks like, once again, understanding sound. And especially as an artist, because I mean, we all know you're not always going to have the best sound technician. You're not always going to have somebody who even gives a crap about what you sound like.
Yeah.
So they're just going to put in the least amount of effort to get you off of the stage or whatever may have you. So when you understand sound and you put in that extra effort, then even when you're at certain places and people drop the ball, then you can just pick up the slack and you're not mad at the end of the day when you see your show footage. It also looks like just having your hand in everything. You don't have to master everything, but you just have to have an understanding of everything around you.
Now let's pause. Everybody needs to highlight what he just said. You don't have to be a master at everything, because I think a lot of people will take what you said, the first part of your statement, and be like, okay, I'm in this situation where now I have to do everything. So that means I need to spend 12 hours of my day becoming an expert at lighting. And that is not what he's saying at all. You're saying that you need to find, as an artist, each piece of what it is that you need to do and what you need to complete for either a project or for moving forward in your career. And then from there, figuring out what each of those steps entail, whether it's the lighting, the sound, the videography, the marketing, the management, the promotions, the whatever it may be, and dabbling in those things.
Exactly.
Figuring out enough of what each of those things are.
Exactly.
So that way you can operate and function and move to the next level and elevate.
Exactly.
But you don't have to become
a
a videographer or a professional publicist or marketing agency, because I feel a lot of people go too far. That's just what I observe.
Because you have to learn how to function as that, so that when the right people come in, you actually know what that looks like.
Right.
Because if you don't know what that looks like, then you just happy just because you got somebody with some fugazi title of manager or producer or whatever may have you, or publicist or whatever may have you, and it's like, okay, they got the title, but do they actually know what they're doing? Do they have relationships? Do they represent you in the best light? How do you even know what light you want to be represented in if you don't even know, because you never even tried?
Speak on it.
So it's like for me, that's why you got to touch everything.
Yep.
Because if you touch everything, then you know, like, let's say music videos, right? You're doing a video. When you see the video guy and you see his footage, you're going to know, like, bro, what is this? This doesn't even look right. And I know it doesn't look right because I know how to handle my cameras and I know how to do this and I know what a real music video looks like. So because I know what a real music video looks like, because I've dabbled in it, now I know when your shit looks crazy to me and we got to refilm this or I need a refund.
Right. A lot of people think that managers, labels, and all of these other people in the artist circle, publicists, whatever may have you, are magicians. And I'm not really sure where that notion comes from, but let's clear the air here on Beyond the Music. Managers, labels, whatever may have you, are not magicians. These people cannot make hit records, thousands of streams, millions of dollars fall out of the sky.
Nope.
So it doesn't matter if you have the best manager, the best label, a major label. I went there. It doesn't matter. Those things are simply titles. But if that person doesn't have your best interest at heart, if that person doesn't have the knowledge that they need to bring you to the next level, not what they did for XYZ mainstream artists, because that's them over there.
Right.
That does not mean that that's going to work for Matt B.
Right.
That doesn't mean that's going to work for whoever is listening. That was them.
Right.
So because they were successful with that artist, that does not always translate to the next person.
I think it goes to like who that person is as an artist, and you know, your team is a reflection of you. Yep. So if you got a lazy ass team that ain't doing shit for you, then you probably got to look at yourself, because they're gonna mimic what you do. Yep. So you're the head. Yep. You're not the tail. So you got to figure out how you want your team to move. And if your team isn't moving in the way that you want them to, then that means you got to pick up the slack and you got to show them how they should move, because they're following your tone. And as for me, like, I tell people all the time, like, bro, like, be on your shit, bro. Right. I'm not, man. I can't stress that enough. If you got to check in on your team and hold their hand and all the rest of that stuff through the process of whatever they're doing, then you probably need a new team. Right.
But to that point, that's why it's so important for artists to be visionaries. Artists have to have a vision. Right. You have to. If you don't, you're almost destined to either be a one-hit wonder, or you're just never going to make it, because it's like, you can't go into the game and be like, I want to be in the game. And then they're like, okay, well, how are you going to progress forward? I don't know. I just want to be in the game. Right. Like, you got to know what it is that you're doing. You have to have goals. You have to have a vision of how you're going to achieve those goals. You have to have checklists of what you're going to do each week, each month, each year to hit each of those goals. Otherwise, you're just literally going to be navigating through the dark. You're not going to know. You're not even going to know which points you hit, because you're not keeping track of the next step. And I think that that's something that is really important to our team. Like, you know what we do every year. At the top of every year, this is January, we always sit down and we're like, what did we do last year that worked? What did we do last year that did not work? How can we correct that? Facts. How can we make sure that in the next year we're taking the steps to make sure that we're stepping into the next step? We're not half stepping our way through the year. And I think it's so important for artists to have those brainstorming sessions with their teams, but also have those silent sessions with yourself to reflect as an artist, because it's also important for that to happen, because if your head's not clear, how can you expect for your team to have a clear vision of what it is you trying to do?
That's true. He's out here singing their own shit. Right. Then turning around and blaming everybody but themselves.
But motherfuckers do it.
That's what they be doing. Singing their own shit and blaming everybody else but themselves. But once again, that's why, like, being a jack of all trades, and like, even if you think about a ship, right? Mm-hmm. You got to understand from head to toe, from what's the shit, from bow to whatever. I don't know the ship terminology, but like, basically, like, whatever that shit is, like, you feel me? From one side of the ship to the other, you got to know what's going on. Every nail, whether or not you got any leaks.
Right.
It's not just about
knowing your vessel.
Right. You got to know the sales. If you have sales, you got to know what's going on with that. Are there holes in them?
Right.
All the rest of that stuff. Like, you got to know from head to toe, because then from there, I mean, you could hear a creak in it and you can know what that sound is. You can know what's going on with it. And it's the same thing when it comes to the mission and what you're trying to achieve as a recording artist. If you have that vision, if you have that mission, then you're going to be able to disseminate that to everybody else that's working around you, and they're going to feel your energy and they're going to thrive off of it.
Energy is important, and I think that a lot of people think that energy is not a big thing, but it's contagious. Just a touch on it, just a tad. Artists cannot be walking around with bad attitudes and think that won't leak on over to your team and everyone else that you're around.
Facts. That's facts.
Motherfuckers have to realize that it's so important to not only have a vision and being a jack of all trades, but giving good energy that comes from the soul and comes from within.
I agree.
And letting that translate and emit out.
I feel like when you're trying to build out a team in general, you got to find people that match what you are. And I mean, you are what you attract anyway. And I mean, in life, we don't always get what we want, but we definitely get what we are.
Right.
That's for sure.
Right.
Because what you want and what you are potentially could be two completely different things. And a lot of people are blinded to that. They think like, oh man, I want to be a superstar. I want 1 million fans or 3-4 million fans. I want millions of streams. I want this. I want that. Woo woo. All that. But then at the end of the day, like, that's not even what they're putting out. That's not what they're putting out to their team. That's not what they're putting out to their fans or anything like that. So because of that, that's not going to be reciprocated. And I think that also goes back to the whole jack of all trades thing. I mean, that goes back to brainstorming, strategizing, having those goal oriented things that are going on within your team, within the finite structure of what you're doing, so that way it can be seen. Because behind the scenes of everything, it looks like a rat race.
Right.
It's like organized chaos.
Yeah.
And if you're not careful, that organized chaos can become chaos.
Right. And I think another thing that's important for artists is to be innovative. And what I mean by innovative is a lot of artists will think that it's okay to just go into the next season of their career or their project or whatever it may be and do the exact same thing over and over and over again. And it's easy to do. We all have done it. But it's so important and I think that's why I keep a journal and I write down my plans, because then it gives me a clear vision of what it is that I've done, what I intend to do. And then when I've actually completed those tasks, I can check off what I've done, what worked and what didn't, and then I can rework that plan. But a lot of people will just dive into it, not even remember half of the stuff that they did.
Facts.
And then be like, well, maybe it worked. Maybe it kind of did. Maybe that was what I was going for, but I really wouldn't know because I didn't write it down. So I think that it's so important for artists to be innovative and kind of not reinvent the wheel per se, but reinvent yourself and not being afraid to do that. And I mean reinventing your strategies and how you might promote yourself, reinventing how you might dress, because artist image is important. That's also another topic for another day. True. But reinventing your image, reinventing your sound, and not being afraid to experiment. And I think it goes back to one of our good friends, shout out Donnie Scantz.
Hey,
something
Scantz.
That Donnie told us was, when you're a new artist, you're always new until the world discovers you. And when the world discovers you, that's when you have to kind of remain consistent. But until that point in time, it's such a unique period of an artist's career. And I don't think a lot of people really understand that, because
they're trying to get to that bag. That's
right.
Why.
But people get blinded by trying to get to the bag and get to the streams and get to all of these other things, that they don't realize that you have so much to offer and so much power in the new artist phase, because you can literally promote all of your old music, because it's not old to everyone else.
Facts.
all that music is still new and fresh because the world has not heard it.
True.
And if you decided that one day you wanted to do straight R&B soul for your project, and then the next project you wanted to be R&B hip hop, you could do that. If you wanted to be R&B and country, you could do that. Until you're mainstream and the world is expecting a certain sound out of you, you really have so much free reign to be creative.
And that's crazy to me, though, because it's like, bro, why are you worried about, I can't do this because people are going to think this, and I can't do this because people are going to think that? Nigga, you the Pied Piper. You leading the people.
Right.
Or are the people leading you?
Right.
Like, that's crazy to me. Like, bro, the people don't know what they want. The artists are the people that tell the people what they want.
And to add, motherfuckers also don't know what a hit record is.
Right. You can make a record that you thought was trash, and then all of a sudden, 2-3 years later, that record is a hit record. I mean, you just never know in this industry.
You never know.
That goes once again to being a jack of all trades, because you got to know your genres, meaning country, R&B, pop, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You got classical, opera, all of that. You got to know your genres. Then it's up to you as the artist to figure out what genre you want to be in, and then how to take from all these different genres and pull them into your genre where it actually makes sense.
Yeah.
But then what happens to a lot of people is we got all these out here playing with shit that they don't understand, being music. So they playing with that they don't understand, so they doing something that don't make sense. And then it shows because it shows in the craft, because then you hear the record and it sounds like you was playing with some shit that you didn't understand. So that's when, yes, you should be worried about what people are thinking about your music, and you should be worried about, oh man, I can't do that, because but you probably had some really good judgment, bro, because you playing with some shit that you didn't understand. So I feel like if you are a jack of all trades, it goes beyond just what you can physically do, but what can you mentally process, and how can you take what you've mentally processed and bring it back for the masses to understand? Because once again, you the Pied Piper. You're gonna be out here. You the people following you. So if you say it's hot, it's hot.
And I feel like so many people didn't even understand, like, let's even dive into an example. So many people didn't even realize that country hip hop could be a thing.
Right.
Until it became a thing.
Right.
But that goes to the point I made earlier of people don't know what they like.
Nope.
People, and you said that too, people don't know what they like, and people don't know what a hit record is.
Right.
So because of that, you literally can just not necessarily create a genre, but I mean, you almost can.
My genre is me. Y'all talking about Matt B World. You feel me? You feel me?
What genre of music do you do?
Sir, my genre is Matt B World. That is all.
Can you like make that a Grammy category? My genre.
That's a goal. That's a goal. Grammy, watch out. That's a new genre.
What is the intention behind being an artist nowadays? What is the goal that independent artists have? Like, is your goal to make millions of dollars? Is your goal to have millions of fans or followers? Is your goal to pave a new path or a new genre for the next generation of artists? Like, what do you think as an artist is the goal behind most artists in the industry?
I think that the majority of artists don't give a shit about who came before them or who's coming behind them. I think it's a selfish act, and that
He gonna upset the people.
I think it's a selfish act, and that is primarily based on being famous. And
I unfortunately would have to agree.
And because it's primarily based on being famous, when you're thinking about, oh man, I just want to be famous, then of course you don't give a shit about the music. Why?
Right.
The music is just a catalyst to fame.
Right.
The music isn't the passion that creates the fame.
Yeah.
So because of that, I mean, niggas is top heavy. Like, it's backwards.
Right.
And it shows, because there is, I won't say there's no quality music. There's very limited quality music, and a lot of quality music goes under the radar. And then
speak on it.
And then muff be saying stuff like, oh man, I'm so tired of this artist, I'm so tired of that artist. Oh, why y'all giving him attention? Bro, you the one who just commented on this post. You're giving them attention. If you, I feel
and
like
sharing it to their page
Right.
or their story.
Right, to say,
and then
to say it's fugazi. Bro, you just shared it.
Feeding the beast.
Right, what is you doing?
Right. That's true.
Social media is an attention-based, algorithmic situation.
Wonderland.
Yeah, it's not real. It's the Matrix.
Yeah.
And when you feed into fuckery, it's just gonna grow. And and the crazy part about it is people will say that, claim to understand it, and still feed into it. So how does that make sense? I mean, if you really gonna feed into it, okay, like be smarter about it. Like screen record that shit and then share it. So at least they don't get to share. Like, what you doing? Send it as a text or something. Like, be smarter about that shit. And don't steal my idea either, because you feel me, I do be doing that sometimes.
Matt B's giving out all his secrets. Don't make sure y'all wrote that one down. Play that back in the replay. I think that, first of all, you're absolutely right. And I think that most artists, that's my perspective too, most artists are in this for the fame, the clout, the followers, the likes. Like, I don't think a lot of the new artists, because I think the statistic is there are about 50 or 55,000 songs uploaded to Spotify alone in one day.
Which is crazy.
Like, let's think about that. And I'm not trying to throw shade, but the majority of those songs
trash
are not very good.
Trash.
I'm just saying.
Trash.
I'm trying to be nice.
Throw that shit in the trash.
So because of that, like, we have to, there can't
trash.
There can't be 50,000 hit records sitting on Spotify a day.
No.
Like, hitting Spotify a day.
No.
So of those 50,000, there's probably maybe 100 of those artists that are actually real, dedicated, in it because they love it, in it because music is their soul and it fuels them.
And the rest of y'all clogging up the space.
It's because people will literally think that what they want to be as an artist go viral on accident.
Right.
Get the attention.
Right.
And then be like,
and then be mad.
I don't think this is what I wanted.
Right.
I don't think this is what I signed up for. But now they're stuck with it. And then they have to wait for the tidal wave to end, essentially. But and you've said this to me so many times, that opportunity of going viral from that artist who really didn't give a shit about being an artist anyway, they just really wanted the fame, stole that opportunity from another artist who really, really wanted it and needed it and has that potential. But because there are so many artists who are out there clogging up the space, as you say, and saturating the industry in all different genres, it creates so much static for people to look through that a lot of A&Rs and a lot of industry execs and a lot of managers and other artists just don't really care to even give independent artists the time of day.
And I agree. And I'm going to add to that by saying that's how you know that the industry is on its head, because this shit is just fugazi as hell, because most artists are introverts. So True. It's like we turn it on and off. Mm-hmm. That's not typically who we are on a day-to-day basis. We turn it on and off. But the people who are out here clowning on social media, that's just what they do.
Right.
So that's their first mission, is to be a clown. Then their second mission is to be an artist. But artists, we speak through our music. That's how we convey how we feel. But outside of that, I mean, niggas be chilling for the most part.
I wanted to tie it in with you saying that artists are, they speak through their music. And to the point earlier that you made about cookie cutters. I think the reason why so many artists sound the same today is because people aren't talking through their music, because it's not their vision, it's not their words, it's not their thoughts. They're literally reciprocating the actions, behaviors, and thoughts of other artists that are out.
Of the true Magellan.
Right. So there are artists out there who are literally like the real artists.
Right.
The ones who are dedicated, the ones who are literally staying up all night penning their, producing their, putting blood, sweat, and tears into their.
Right.
And then there are the cookie cutters who come behind them who are like, I just want to emulate everything that he does. So I'm going to sound like him, walk like him, talk like him, dress like him, make my hair like him. And then it comes off that way. And then when record labels and when other independent acts see that image or persona or sound sells, you just get a whole bunch of the same shit.
If you don't know your business, then you are not a jack of all trades.
Right.
And you don't got to know everything, but you have to have at least an understanding. It's because I'm always trying to learn something new. I'm always trying to get my feet wet in some capacity. I don't always want to go in the deep end, but I don't always want to put my head under the water because some of that shit is just not for me.
Right.
But at the same time, man, could I get a toe wet in this motherfucker?
Not a toe. Get the pinky toe wet.
Y'all don't even want to get the toe wet. So can I get a dread wet?
Like, not the dread.
So I mean, for me, it's just like, I agree with you 100%. And the understanding of that is so important because when you know better, you do better.
There was a quote, not even a quote. It was something that someone told me that I guess I created into a quote in my mind. But someone told me that social media is literally a highlight reel of your life, meaning that social media is all of the beautiful parts of your life. But as we all know, because we all are grown, we all have lived enough life at this point to know that all aspects of life and all days of your life are not beautiful and posies and wonderful roses that smell gorgeous and
not at
all of the things. It is not like that. Your life is not beautiful 24/7. If it is, then you're lying.
Let me get a piece of that.
You're lying. That is fake news.
Man, we gonna hit the Trump with it. We gonna hit the Trump. Yeah, but that's true though. That's true though. I mean, I agree wholeheartedly that it is a mirage. It's a highlight reel of your life, and I think people get lost in the sauce and they see like. I mean, just think about it. Like, as a recording artist in general, like, you're selling a fantasy. You're selling something that's not real. I mean, from the fast cars, sure. I mean, you're going to own some fast cars. To the jewelry, sure, you're going to own some jewelry. To the bad chicks, okay. To performing in front of 20, 30,000 people. But what happens is, once again, going back to the highlight reel thing that you was talking about, that's all you see when you swiping across somebody's highlight reel, and it gives us a false perception of reality that that's all they do. These are snippets, very, very short snippets. A song typically is 3 minutes and 30 seconds, and a lot of songs are getting shorter than that. So for that 3 minutes and 30 seconds or less, as an artist, you feel untouchable. You feel like a demigod on stage. Like you could just do anything, and you're swaying the crowd and getting them to react to what you're doing. But that moment is just that finite moment. And then you come back down as an artist and come back down into your reality, which usually isn't really that great. Honestly, like you take the money away. I mean, the money is what keeps people doing it outside of the fact that they love the art.
Right.
But if you take the money away and you just left with an angry baby mama, your family trying to mooch off of every penny that you make, which I'm definitely not going for. You got 1,000 kids because you can't keep your in your pants. You in and out of jail because you got a drug problem or you have a temper, and the list goes on and on and on and on and on. What little joy you get is when you're in the studio and creating, and some people don't even like doing that. Or when you on stage and you performing, and some don't even like doing that. So it's like, in reality, a lot of artists are just seeking after validation, and the validation comes through the performances or whatever it is that they channel it through, and it only lasts for so long, and it's unrealistic because, like I was saying to you a little while back ago, we live in a spectrum. Happiness is over here and sadness is all the way over here, and we have to balance ourselves. So it's like happiness is unrealistic. Happiness is just as unrealistic to dwell in 24 hours, 7 days a week as sadness is. But people understand that when you say you can't be sad all the time, bro. Like, you got to find a way to pull yourself out of that. Bro, you can't be happy all the time.
Man,
you got to find a way to pull yourself.
Unrealistic.
You got to find a way to pull yourself out of that too, because it's unrealistic to even try and think that you can even achieve happiness 24/7, which is why the American dream is not happiness. It is the pursuit
of happiness. Ooh, talk
something
about
that you
it.
will never truly obtain, which is why for me, I'm looking to be content. That's my goal. I don't want to be over here. I don't want to be all the way over here. Those emotional swings I'm not really interested in.
Right.
I'm trying to be smack dab in the middle. I'm trying to be content.
And I think something that I remember you said in an interview, I don't remember which interview it was, but it stuck with me because it's something that I've heard you say on multiple occasions, is happiness is a choice.
It is.
It's not something that it comes naturally, but it's something that you have to wake up and choose, because you can choose to have a outlook on the world and life in general, like especially after 2020. 2020 was garbage.
Unless you chose happiness.
2020 was garbage unless you chose happiness, but you had to choose it because so many people lost their jobs. They lost family members. We lost industry moguls. We lost people that we loved. We lost our sense of normalcy. We can't even go outside the same way. Motherfuckers is reaching for the keys, the phone, and a mask, and the sanitizer, and the Lysol, and everything else.
You can't even trust your own granny. You can't hug your own granny.
Right. Gotta get the respirator.
Granny might have that package.
Man, not granny.
And then die and not stick around and see what happened
Stop.
to you. No, I'm taking it too far. I need
You're
to cut it out.
taking it too far. Don't talk about it.
I'm sorry, Granny.
Okay, don't talk about it. We're not going to talk about it. But we had to wake up and choose happiness after 2020.
Right.
Because 2020 was a hell of a ride. A lot of people aren't even familiar with that kind of loss and that type of feeling like you have been robbed of your joy, your routine, your daily patterns, your normalcy. And when you're entering into 2021, we all have to, at least I hope that the listeners who are watching this or viewing this or listening and tuning in, I hope that everyone entered 2021 with a perspective of choosing joy, choosing to move forward, choosing to pursue their dreams, and stay consistent, and not allowing people to deter them from whatever it is that their goal is, whether that dream is to be an artist, whether that dream is to be a chef, whether that dream is to be an inventor, a doctor, a nurse, whatever it is. I hope that everyone remembers to choose happiness, because it's very easy to be negative.
It is.
Especially in today's climate and especially in America.
It is.
But by choosing joy and choosing happiness and finding that inner peace, I feel like we're able to operate in this world a lot easier.
Yeah, I think that that's a great point that you make. And also just tying it all back into being a jack of all trades. But if you're choosing happiness along the way, then you can make sense of it a lot better. Be a jack of all trades. That's what I would say. That's my ending remarks. Be a jack of all trades. Be the best at whatever it is that you're choosing to do in life, and try and see if you could just get it off the ground on your own.
I think my final remarks would be, make sure you're competing with yourself. Don't try to go on social media every day and overanalyze what everybody else is doing. Don't focus on that. Focus on yourself, focus on your goals, and keep a clear vision of what it is that you're trying to do. Write down them goals, get you a journal, or write it in your phone, whatever it is that's easiest for you, and follow your own path and follow your own dream.
So that's going to do it for today for Beyond the Music. For everybody that's tuning in right now, definitely for everybody on the podcast side of things, definitely follow us on YouTube, because we are actually doing video footage and everything like that. So you might want to check it out. You might want to watch it. And for everybody on YouTube,
see my shining face? No, I'm good.
For everybody on YouTube, please subscribe. We're coming with more content. We're coming with more videos. Let's keep the conversation going in the comments, because we would love to hear from you. What does it mean for you when we say be a jack of all trades? Because that's different for everybody. So we're really, really curious to see how everybody takes that in, and how everybody defines that.
Be sure to subscribe while you're at our YouTube. Drop a comment in order to join the conversation. We will be responding to those comments. And if you want to follow us on Instagram, he is.
This is your boy Matt B, and you can follow me at mattbworld. That's MATTB World.
And if you want to follow me, I am on Instagram at Angela V Benson, ANGELA VBENSON.
And that's going to do it for today. This is Beyond the Music. The conversation continues.